risking my life, truck and trailer, to get those shots for all the tab owners out there. I'm an untrained professional. Never try that at home. The benefits of a small truck and trailer. Almost parking wherever you want. Got up here a little later than I wanted to, so I just stopped off and had to get me some of the best bake pulled pork green chili mac and cheese I've ever had. Now time to head to camp, and we'll knock out this 1-year tab trailer review. Got to do everything in one trip. She's hot in here today. 106. And we're set. Pretty cool spot. I've been wanting to get this one for a little bit too. Kind of have my own little overlook over the roadway, but still. Nice pull-through private loop. It's a little warm today for up here. It's about 89 degrees. Inside of that trailer was cooking about 106. So I'm just giving it a few minutes to cool down before I go in there and give everybody a little review and update of the tab. This is going to be my 1 year, 10,000 mile review of my 2023 Nucamp Tab 320S Boondock. This isn't going to be your typical RV review. I'm not going to show you every in and out, all the drawers, covers, locks, fans, etc. If you want to see any of that, you can go back in my previous videos. But I am going to go over all the things that I love, hate, and have modified on this trailer in the last year. Maybe this review will be helpful to some on making a decision whether or not you'd like to buy a trailer like this. Take my review as a grain of salt. What I like or dislike isn't always what somebody else likes or dislikes. This is my first travel trailer. That being said, the only other experience I have with towing is going to be a utility trailer, a couple of quads, a heavy machinery trailer, and a small dump truck a couple times. But by now, with 10,000 miles under my belt, I think I got this thing pretty much figured out. So, first order of business. Let's go with what I hate about this trailer. Absolutely nothing. There are a few quirky things in here I'll go over, but there is nothing I hate about this trailer. So let's just go over a few of the issues I have had with this trailer so far. We're going to start here on the inside. Issue number one I had with this trailer within the first couple months of having it. The fan. Now this is a brand new Max Air fan I installed. The original fan was a Dometic Fantastic fan. And the issue I had with that was somebody, when they put the lap seal around the outside edge of this on the roof, had done such a sloppy job that they stuck lap sealant to that vent cover, and whenever this was first opened, all the drippings got pulled up and put holes in it, and I had a very minor leak I was lucky enough to catch within a couple hours of the first rain. I had a few light drips come down and land on my bed, no big deal. These cushions, they come out of here and you can let them dry. So I was good to go on that. I got some extra lap seal, re-lap sealed the old fan, and there was no problem until about 2 months ago. The fan started making some squeaking noises, and I don't think that you could take apart the Dometic motor to maybe clean out the armature, bearings, and that. And I figured, well, I kind of want to redo the lap seal and I wanted a better fan. And that's why I chose this Max Air or Max Fan Deluxe. And this thing is amazing. It has 10 speeds. You can set this to a temperature It'll automatically kick up and down, start and stop. This one actually locks in place to keep the lid from vibrating and bouncing open. And when you turn it on down and you want a little airflow through here, it is almost near silent. You can probably hear the traffic outside more than that fan. Now that's not Nucamp's fault, unless they did the sloppy seal up there, but I kind of don't really believe they did that. I almost have to wonder if that was fixed after the fact. Maybe something happened to that thing being transported on the way to the dealer and they had to do a quick fix. But this new fan is absolutely amazing. And I know Nucamp probably hears it all the time, but just install these and get it over with. They're so much better, please. Going on to the outside, this was kind of a major issue. A serious liability issue here, I think, and it happens to a lot of people. Not Nucamp's product, once again. It is the step company's product. But what happens is, these hinge bolts here, and there's two more up underneath, were just lock washered on. And what happens is, when they come loose, this step can come off, and that could hurt somebody pretty bad. So if you have one of these steps, no matter the trailer, go out, find the right size nylon lock nuts, and put those on there. Nylon lock nuts should be on all moving bolt surfaces like that. One other issue I had, which isn't really an issue, but when I switched over to a lithium battery, this WIFECO converter is supposed to automatically detect a lithium battery. The process goes, you drain your battery down to dead, which isn't good, and let it fully charge all the way back up on shore power. And then it's supposed to know the charge cycle and switch over to a lithium profile charge, which means it's going to charge your lithium battery more than it would an AGM or lead acid. I did that process 8 times. 4 on purpose. The other 4, I accidentally ran the trailer dead and charged it back up, and it still didn't work. I got in contact with the company. They are very helpful, but they say there's a software update that computer board needs to have done to update it to, so it auto detects lithium. Now, I didn't want to have to go through all the BS of pulling that thing out and sending off the board and giving my VIN number out just to prove that. So I said, forget it, I'll leave it in there. There's also a little resistor or bridge that can go in there they can send you that will completely switch it over to lithium. But once again, I decided, nah, I'll leave it alone, I'm not going to do that. And I came up with a couple reasons why. The number one reason is, if something happens to my lithium battery, all I have to do is throw in an AGM from Walmart or whatever car parts store there is if I really need a battery while I'm out on the road. And it'll work no problem. The other reason I didn't is this tab comes with solar, and that solar charger will give the battery its final top off to 14.4 or 14.6 volts, whatever you set it to. So I wasn't too worried about it. Now, the only thing that sucks about the converter not switching over to lithium mode is it charges very slowly. And there's a lot of extra battery storage space when you switch over to a lithium battery, and it takes a long time to top that off. Then again, that in conjunction with the solar, not too bad. Now, I'll go over the other couple ways I charge that battery here in a little bit when I go over my modifications. But I kind of like having it that way. That way I have at least 3 ways to charge this thing and a lot of redundancy there. Once again, that's not Nucamp's problem. All these RV manufacturers buy pretty much all the same stuff from all these other RV parts and component suppliers. There's not much they can do about it. That is until lately on the updated models. By the way, while we're at it, I had no idea, but this table here can actually be stored right under here. Thank you for pointing that out, that person in one of the forums. One other issue I noted in my 6-month review was this door. It has a slight warp to it, you can see it. I noted that to the RV dealer before I bought this thing. They actually ordered me a backup door, which I have at home. I decided to save it for later just in case, because that slight bow allows me to keep my dish towel right in there, so it works out pretty good. But it's wood. This is real wood, and it's plywood, and but it's going to do that when it's hot or cold, or as this wood's drying up over its life. That's what wood does, you know? Especially trying to keep things lightweight. At least it is real wood, you know? It'll be a little hard to tell. You can see that right there. Just a little bit of splitting, nothing big. And when I finally get around to it and I email my VIN number off to Nucamp, they can give me the correct code for the stain, and I'll get a little touch-up stain and touch that up. Not a big deal. Now, not a huge issue. It's just things doing what they do. But the seam down here was starting to separate a little bit where they caulked it. So I came in, added a little more caulk. Probably should have used white instead of clear because I'm getting some yellow, but all this will be redone eventually here one day. But that is just from this trailer expanding and contracting and heat and cold and vibrating, shaking, going down the road in an earthquake. So I wouldn't, I mean, that's still sealed, but I wouldn't be worried about that at all. That's no big deal. That's stuff that's just going to happen. Now inside here, there is a cassette toilet pops out. I did have an issue with a little float arm inside of that thing. And it turns on a light here when it tells you it's about half full and full. On the end of this little float, it looks like the float kind of looks something similar to this, plastic with an arm. It has some magnets on it that tell the lights to turn on. So on the end of that float, there was a sealed cap, I think. And it popped off and I never noticed it. And, well, it went down the drain, so now it doesn't indicate the level of your poo and pee in there. Which isn't a big deal to me, because you can literally just see down in there. With all that being said, those 3 or 4 things are the only issue I've had with this trailer in 10,000 miles over 1 year. Back at home, this trailer is outside baking at 120, 25 in the sun. I bring it up here in the cold. I've had it as low as 26 degrees. Of course, it warmed up in the day. Nothing was going to freeze and break pipes. So to go through that over 1 year, I figure that's pretty darn good, and everything else is just normal, typical wear and tear. So I'm a car guy, and a car guy being somebody who has to modify everything, have their paint perfect, make sure everything's working just right, a critiquer, and I gotta say, I am pretty pleased with this trailer. Figure anything else that goes wrong, I need to learn how to do it myself. I think the RV industry is charging $185 an hour for labor to fix things now. What's the tech making on that? Maybe 25 bucks an hour? I think it's like 110, 120 for automotive. So I figure it's all up to me to fix anything, which is fine. I'd like to know how to do everything anyway, in case it has to be done when I'm out here camping or on the road. It's always a good skill set to have, is to know your machine and know your equipment very well and be able to repair it. Before I bought the Tab, I went in and out of all kinds of trailers, even things I couldn't tow or couldn't afford, just to see what they were like. Now, these little trailers aren't cheap. This one was MSRPing for, I think, $36. Now, I paid a lot less than that because it was the end of the year and they needed to get rid of it. And the RV camping thing is starting to die down a little bit. But most of these small trailers and custom-built teardrops are pretty pricey for the size, right? That being said, when I walk through all different makes, models, manufacturers of trailers, I won't name any names, but the great vast majority of them sitting brand new on the lot had things like trim molding coming off, cracks, things that look like wood, but it was just like a vinyl wrap or wallpaper already peeling up and wrinkling or scratched. Some of them had screws completely falling out. When you'd open up the cupboards and behind the bench, there were shavings and pieces of wire and all kinds of junk. It looked like somebody literally used a steak knife to cut holes in some of these trailers. And that's when I decided I would give and take a little and go with a smaller trailer over a slightly larger trailer that was built like a pile of you-know-what. I'll let everybody see all the fine stuff here. The edges of the cabinets are still good. These seams are really good. Let me show you up here against the wall how nice this is still. Look at that gap. Perfect. Like absolutely nothing. Now this side wiggles a little bit, but everything's tight. That's just the way it's designed. But other than that, everything is absolutely perfect in this trailer still after 10,000 miles. The only other real issue I'm having isn't even really to do with the trailer or parts itself. What it is being able to order parts, especially something like that Thetford float, which should be pretty common. It's like a $15 piece of plastic. Now, the RV dealer that sells these where I bought it, it's about 3 hours away from me. I've tried to contact this company 4 or 5 times now in the last, 4 months. Allegedly, they ordered me a float. I forgot all about it. 2 months goes by, I give them a call, and they claim that they had mailed and sent it to me. I never received it. I told the company one more time, that's fine, I don't care if I have to pay for it. It's like $15 for the part, I don't care. Can you reorder it? Yeah. So they go to order it. While I'm at it, I go, you know what, I'm going to have to do my bearing maintenance and I'm going to do it myself. Can you order me a set of bearings that I can have as a backup because I needed some seals just in case? And they said, yeah. When I told them what model it was, the parts guy on the phone asked me what size the axle was. Now, I don't know. I can't see the sticker on the axle on this thing. So I said, aren't you guys a dealer and service center for these? Yeah. So I don't know why they're asking me what part I need. I thought that was a little strange, considering they're the ones that do maintenance and repair and parts ordering for these things, and they're a dealer for them. So that right there alone makes me wonder if I should ever bring my trailer to them if they don't know what part to order for this trailer, especially something as common as a wheel bearing. Since then, I've contacted them 3 more times. They said they'd call me back, write it down, ask the other 2 service people if they had talked to me. They've had nothing in the system and no recollection that I've called or tried to order anything, so I've given up. So what do? Ask people on the tab forums. They got most of the answers. On top of that, I called Nucamp. I just have to email them my VIN number so they make sure they can tell me the exact and correct part that I need. So I'll probably do that next. I got about 1,000 miles to go and I'm going to do my own wheel bearing pack. So other than that, everything's been absolutely perfect. I love this thing. In fact, I'd like to own a Tab 360, a Tab 400. It'd be nice to be able to collect them all for all different occasions, right? But let's get back to the review part of this. These screens, this mesh in the screen is a little wide, so you can get some fine bugs in them, but I think the new models are coming with a new version of these screens, and if you did want to really spend the money to change out your screens and blinds, you could get the tighter mesh that's a little better for bugs. But I just leave my lights off inside the trailer when I'm not in it, especially when the windows are open, so I don't get a lot of bugs in here. And if I do, I pull out a little handheld vacuum and suck them all up. Not a big deal. Now let's get into a few recommendations I would like to make to Nucamp if they happen to watch this. Like I just said, we need Max fans. Max Fan Deluxe fans in these things from the factory, guys. So much better. When it comes to this isotherm fridge, I think Isotherm makes this same size. I could be incorrect. But if they could start implementing the fridge that has a door that slides straight out instead of opening like that, like a normal fridge door, that would be pretty awesome. This cutout above the door is really nice. But I think you really should have brought that curve all the way up just to get that 1 inch of extra head clearance here, or maybe put some kind of bumper on the end of that. The last thing that I think should be done to this is just like some of the European models. There's a pocket under here, and nobody knows what that's for. You can put your toilet chemicals in there, I guess. Same with that. But over in Europe, this piece lifts up and a computer fan slides in there with a charcoal filter. So when you hit the button in that toilet, it pulls pressure through this cassette and out the vent through there. That'd be really awesome to be able to draw enough pressure out of that cassette toilet that the smell wouldn't come up. And honestly, I don't think there's anything else they can do to this thing to make it any more perfect. Those are the only things I could come up with that may not cost too much money to add into this, other than maybe some factory tire pressure monitor sensors or something. Oh, and one last thing to make this the best trailer in the whole wide world. If there's enough room in between this wall, Nucamp, we need that really nice fancy flush mount Dometic toilet paper holder that rolls the toilet paper back in to give us a little bit more room. That would be very nice. And if you could make it easier to access our glycol tanks so we can keep an eye on them, that'd be great. All right, now on to all the things I love about this trailer. There was no reason to describe what I like about this thing. I just showed you everything. The whole thing. I really like this trailer. Everything about it. I love the styling. I love the build. The looks on this thing are awesome. They're classic with a little retro and modern styling mixed in. Or should we say the European look. I personally think the European caravan manufacturers absolutely nail it when it comes to build quality and using space in their trailers, and that's exactly where this trailer originally came from. Was a UK based company. Somebody out there asked me if I would buy it again, and my answer is, if I didn't have the money for a bigger truck and a bigger trailer, then yeah, I would definitely buy this again. Maybe a 360 to get a little more head height here, because I'm 5'7". You can see where I'm at here standing mid-trailer. I just clear the top of the fan button. But other than a little more head height, this trailer is absolutely perfect for a single person, especially being short, a minimalist, somebody that came from a small teardrop trailer that wouldn't mind bending over a little bit in here. I mean, you can still stand up and put your clothes on. You could still get in here and sit on a toilet and take a shower. And by the way, for those that keep wondering what the shower height is here, I'm going to step in, and I have to stand here at 5'7". See, I hit this way, but if I just tilt my head down, here's the shower fixture. When I'm rinsing my head, I just kind of lean over like this, and I'm perfectly fine. I just have to remember, just stay leaned over. Don't smash my head up into the roof. Having a little tiny bathroom and shower is way better than not having a bathroom and shower. And it's way better than having to put up my pop-up shower outside, warm up water, pack it up, let it dry out, than dealing with a little bit of a cramped space in here. The other really nice thing about these 320s is the ability to see where everything is, pretty much. There's your converter, your wiring, your solar, your glycol pipes leading back. You get a little bit of storage space over here. Both of these cushions, you have your Aldi and plumbing on this side. You can see almost all of it. And on that side you have your AC. Now the only thing you can't see are some of the little radiators that go back behind here and some of the piping. And of course you can't see where the pipes come under this floor and come up to your Aldi reservoir back here. But the fact that almost everything in here you are able to get to is pretty awesome. That makes having to fix something on your own a lot easier if it had to be done. Okay, and since I have my cushion up here, we're going to start with some of the things that I've done to modify this trailer that A, I just wanted to do because it was cool, or B, it makes life easier. Now, being a car guy, I have a disease where I have to modify and change everything. I can't leave anything stock or alone. That being said, I do spend a lot of money on expensive stuff. Now, it doesn't always have to be the very best top of the line, but I always try to shoot for parts and things that are at least just under the very best. I learned a long time ago, buy once, cry once. I watched too many people buy 3 or 4 of the same junky thing just to replace it over and over again, then finally have to spend the extra money on the good part, when the whole time you wouldn't have had any of those headaches to begin with. That being said, some of this stuff is a little on the pricier end, and some of it isn't too bad. Do you have to have any of this stuff? No, but it may make things a little bit better for you. So the obvious elephant in the room that I changed last month was I switched over to this Max Fan Deluxe, and that is huge. That's awesome. And like I said, I think I can even pull these motors out and fix them or clean them out if you had to, so that's pretty cool. While I got my cushion up here, we're going to segue into this. I'm going to show you the RV Smart Plug that I installed. And it's pretty easy to get to in these tabs. Just comes through the wall. You got 3 wires. And why I did that is I wanted a much easier shore power connection and much better. You see how big these plug holes are here? These jaws lock on. So all you do is press it on, lock it in. They're a little expensive, but this is a retrofit kit that you can add to your existing cable here. And you just open that thing up. You got these massive connections that aren't going to arc and spark. A great seal in here that won't let the water in. And you just take it, press it on, and clip it in. When you want to take it off, squeeze the jaws and pull her back out. You will have to drill an additional hole and fill the stock hole because there was only a 3-hole plug here before if you want to do this. It was very pricey, but man, is that such a better connection than that piece of crap that was on there before. That should come stock from the factory. I think Airstream's using those now. Alright, back on inside. The couple little modifications I've made here is I unplugged the HDMI. I bought a little extension in here because if you try to plug a long one in here, it won't fit. You got to get a little pigtail. And I ran a Roku stick. That way I can hotspot right to my cell phone and have all the fancy schmancy movie channels and whatnot. Plus, the Roku stick can run on DC, so I unplug it here and plug it in down there. I added this silicone mat to protect the glass in the counter. I found it on Amazon. Just look up silicone mat and find a size. You can cut it to shape. Do whatever you want with it. Same for this little silicone sink faucet mat. And then I bought one of these extendable retracting sink drain grate things because that really amplifies how much counter space you have while you're cooking if you don't need to wash and stuff. But even then, you can still set stuff around here and then, you know, rinse as long as you don't wet, you know, things you don't want wet around it, or just leave them sitting right here to dry. I added this plug and just command velcroed it on, and it's kind of neat, although this only works on shore power, but it comes apart and you got multiple AC plugs, and I just velcro it back right up in here. And I got an extra long USB cable with an adapter for the 2 different kinds of micro USB and USB-C, because the power connections for these are down under here, which I thought was kind of odd anyway. But the neat thing about that AC one that I just showed you that Velcro's on. Look at how slim this plug is. That is awesome. And you can get these in different lengths. Probably should have went a foot shorter, but I figured I could use this for different situations. Just some plastic totes. That's it. Nice and easy and simple. Same with down here. Just a basket. Got my cutting board down here if I need one. This little bathroom suction cup basket, which in the last video I told you it was working fine up front, but the one in the bathroom was starting to bubble and pull that vinyl paper covering off the wall, which all you got to do is low heat warm it up and smooth it out, and it'll go back if that happens to happen to you. I found some of these stainless steel hooks. They stick on with some really good adhesive tape. Same with this paper towel holder that I kind of put in this direction because it keeps that out of the way from the door. It doesn't block my underlighting up here. And there really isn't anywhere in this model of tab to put a paper towel holder. Back here I keep my little vacuum and some extra cleaning stuff. This side I keep all my Nucamp paperwork tools, a TV antenna, and actually this works pretty good outside, believe it or not. And my window blocking shades. By the way, don't use the silver side, and make sure you leave a gap around so heat can escape out of these windows. You don't want to have too much heat building up in there and warp your plastic windows. I need to find some better rugs for this thing, but that's all I could find at the time that would fit close at Walmart. And then I just put a cargo bed liner thing for a SUV down. It was real cheap. I cut it to shape in case anything gets wet. That's pretty much for all the interior stuff that I've done. I try to keep everything really simple, keep this trailer lightweight, not cluttered full of crap. That makes things a lot harder to get to and a lot more cramped feeling in these little spaces, you know. Plus I'm used to tent camping and truck camping out of the back of my truck or backpacking, so you get used to being very minimal and you realize you really need to take a lot of this junk with you, you know. Alright, let's head outside and I'll show you some of the things I did. And by the way, we will be getting into parts of the Tacoma on what I had to do to make towing a lot better. I picked up a set of these TPMS sensors from Tire Minder. They just screw on. And I didn't know this, but I really should replace these rubber valves with a metal valve. Apparently it was in that piece of paper they put in a box that tells you how everything works that us guys don't read, that I happened to catch online with somebody else saying that eventually these things being a little bit of weight in here, which there's a little scuff mark here so I can tell when this is spinning around, it's flinging out here. It will eventually wear that valve out in time. I talked to the company and they said it's not an immediate thing, but it needs to get done. You know, but you definitely don't want your valve stem coming out. So that'll get done here soon. And as usual, all the tire shops I went to did not have the correct size to fit this. They're either too big or not the right type. As usual. Coming on inside of the truck. Here's my tire minder. So right now I have it plugged in, but you really don't need to. You can stick this thing up here in the windshield if you want. But for like $100, man, this thing's pretty cool. So it'll give you your pressure and your temperatures. And if anybody's wondering, yes, sometimes this will read a little over the outside air temperature, up to about 10 degrees or so, or a little more. But it works pretty good. It goes off within about 1 or 2 seconds of pulling one off the valve stem. It'll tell you that you lost air pressure. The only thing that's a little crappy with this thing is sometimes this digital screen gets a little weird and blotchy like that. But for $100 compared to, I don't know, what are those bigger companies running, $300-400 now? I can't complain at all, and this thing's been going good for at least 6 months now. Next thing I added was this backup camera, and I had to make a metal plate so that it would magnetically stick to the back of this trailer because it's aluminum. And I'm going to show you how strong these magnets are. And this is a company called Dough Honest. And this was fairly cheap too. I think it was about $110 for this and the screen. And it is completely wireless. It has its own battery you can charge. The little solar panel kind of keeps it topped up a little bit, but it won't charge it. I think this thing lasted me like 18 hours of drive time total, so that's plenty. Plus, there's some huge benefits to having a magnetic-based backup camera. Some really useful things that I've come up with. One of which is when I'm trying to line up my parking spot, all I have to do is take my camera and set it on the ground, point it where I want that wheel aligned, and I can see it from inside the truck. This has been absolutely amazing for a solo traveler, especially when I get into some really tight spots. Maybe I'm not 100% sure of where I'm parking, and it just saves me a lot of time. Plus, there's two other uses for this so far I found. The next one, back of your truck, you can angle this up. That way, if you have to make some really tight, almost 90-degree turns in here, you can see exactly where your trailer is, hitch, bumper, and everything, before you end up smashing your trailer into your bumper. The next thing you can do is set this thing out wherever you want it. On top of your truck, face it towards your camper trailer door, whatever, right? And why that's good is the screen inside is detachable. It has a suction mount. Right now mine's on a special mount I have set up, but it runs on DC power, so you can plug that in inside your trailer, and you can have a monitor inside your trailer while that camera is facing the outside of it. You could see who's walking up to your trailer at night. You could almost use that as a security camera or something. You can see all kinds of stuff, especially in the dark, believe it or not. That thing works really good. Alright, now to show you guys how well the screen works on this. So as you can see, I have mine on a special ball mount back here, but it comes with a suction mount. And the cable just runs over to your power supply. You can put it down here. Right now I have mine in my battery bank. Just hit the button to turn it on. And there you go. Not too shabby for a still picture there. Now it does look a little bit grainy and glitchy when you're moving, but to be able to see behind you, especially backing up, is pretty darn awesome. I've had this I think about 6-7 months also, and it's been absolutely flawless so far. In fact, I'm impressed that it's even still working for $100 compared to some of the big name brands. For trailer brakes, I'm running Red Arc's Tow Pro Elite. All you need is this little tiny button, and if you press in, that'd be your emergency brake. And here's your setting. I guess that'd be like your gain. And you don't need anything that fancy. They do have a model underneath this just called the Red Arc Tow Pro. But what the Elite does, gives you two kinds of modes. One that's kind of like an active braking, I guess. So as you put pedal in to the brake on the truck, it does the exact pedal input for braking on the trailer. It's really smooth. It's pretty awesome. Then for off-roading reasons, you can switch this over to just a braking function itself. That way, if you're off-roading coming down a steep hill, you can control the trailer brakes to slow you down, or maybe turn off the brakes completely so you don't get stuck in sand when hitting brakes. But it just has a little module that mounts up and under the dash, and it plugs into your factory harness. And if you don't have a factory harness, you can get the adapter and wire it in for your regular trailer brakes. But pretty awesome. A little pricey. Like I said, you can get the regular Tow Pro for a better price. But this is some pretty cool stuff right there. Now to go over a couple of things I've done to make towing a lot nicer with this truck and trailer combined. First, we're going to start off with my truck here. Now, this isn't necessary for everybody, but I have some serious suspension going on in here for off-roading. You don't need that. But for me, it helps out. This is an adjustable compression valve in here. So I can slow down how fast this shock bottoms out, and I can really dial in the way this truck rides in the back of that trailer. Nice and smooth, not harsh. Not needed, but what you will need on these Tacomas and probably some of these smaller trucks is to get yourself an add-a-leaf in your leaf pack put in, maybe even a beefier leaf pack. That will help out tremendously, especially with these Tacomas. This truck's lifted about 2 inches in the back, and I only have that much room between the frame and the bump stop on this. One of the biggest issues with these Tacomas, because of this frame shape, especially on stock suspension, is just mush, and you'll just whack this frame with any kind of weight in the back of this truck or hanging on the back of that tow ball. So you're gonna probably need beefier leaf springs, and or there's a company out there, it looks like a big pillow spring thing called a sumo bump. That way if it does contact, it kind of slows its way up and down into here. But definitely beef up your rear suspension at least a little bit. Now this hitch wasn't completely needed. This was something a good friend of mine had laying around and said he'd give me. This hitch can be ran this way. It can also be flipped the other way. The reason I have it this way is because this is the exact height that I need with this ball here to get this trailer leveled once it's on the truck and weighted down. But I did take 1 inch off of this, and I had a buddy come in and weld on this friction sway control ball tab, and then I had it repowder coated and it's good as new. I bought this thing online here, and what that does is keep your hitch rattled down, keeps this nice and snug, doesn't bang and clang around on you. Cheap part. There is another way to do that, and I'm using one here. It's a bolt. Inside you slide in like a spring nut, and it tightens everything up into here so you don't get that movement up and down side to side if that annoys you. Plus it probably helps from keeping things from wallowing out in there. Now this Kurt rocker ball, I think it has a 7,500 pound weight rating. And what this does is, when you come to those stops and starts where you hear your trailer just bang, bang, and you can feel it just whacking, this pretty much eliminates that problem altogether. And I've had this 1 year now, and it's still doing pretty good. There's a grease fitting underneath, and every so often, every 3 months, I give it a squirt of grease or two in there. But so smooth with that on there, I'll tell you what. For those of you who don't know, you can get these trailer hitch locks almost anywhere. Same with the hitch locking pin. Tie up your chains in there, one of these. That way somebody can't hook the chains up and drag your trailer away. But doesn't matter what you put on there. Somebody with a battery powered sawzall or cutoff wheel can come in here and zip this thing out in about 2 minutes anyway, but at least it slows them down, right? Now we're going to talk about a controversial topic when it comes to these little trailers. Manufacturer says you probably shouldn't use or need to use one of these, and I almost fully agree with them. But out here in the West, we can have one clear day, and the next day we literally have 40-mile-an-hour side winds, or you could be driving from one area, and 100 miles later you're coming around a corner on a mountain, and here comes all this wind down a valley or something and just blows the crap out of your truck and trailer. When it comes to my Tacoma, I can feel it in the truck alone driving on the highways. This trailer does really good with its aerodynamics, but this thing is still a parachute and still a sail, so it can catch some wind, especially some big fast moving truck comes and passes you, you'll feel it. Now these do really good, but I really like having this along with me. And the trick is when you go to tighten this thing down, you don't over tighten it, okay? You just come around to your almost hand snug. And I can't do it on here, but just hand snug. You don't want to crank down on this thing. You need your trailer to be able to pivot and move. And what this does is it slides in and out on brake pads, and you mount a little ball up here in the side of your trailer tongue. It goes here, and then it goes to that little ball in the back there. And what it does is when you get that side gust of wind, or maybe your trailer does get out of alignment and it just keeps wanting to do this. Although this trailer, when you have them loaded and leveled right on your truck, shouldn't do that. Why I have it is, when those wind gusts come up, instead of that trailer and truck feeling like you just got slammed, it kind of takes that movement and it just goes. Everything's very fluid and comes back. Even if you wiggle the steering wheel, that trailer is going to follow right with you. But don't over tighten this. And if you don't need it, take it off and store it. You could leave it on very carefully. You don't want to make a lot of tight turns or you'll bend stuff. But I usually leave it on really, we'll say, loose. You don't want to go too loose here, that nut will fall out. To where this can be slid in and out by hand, and then when I need it, I'll give it a turn or two and just barely snug this thing down, just enough that it just kind of takes a lot of that hit out of this trailer with those high winds. That works pretty good, but like I said, you don't need to use this all the time. Kurt claims this won't work with a rocker ball, but this does work. The rocker ball aspect with this isn't as good because the rocker ball needs to go this way while this is trying to slow down that movement anyway. But combined, they do pretty well. Now, one last thing when it comes to these Toyotas and towing, especially the little trucks and a trailer of that size or a little heavier, I highly recommend you get this computer tuned. Get the Overland Torque Tune. I will tell you right now, I've had it done almost a year and it has made a huge difference. It makes this truck feel the way it should have felt from the factory. I won't say it gave it a lot of power, but in some ways it feels like it gained some power. It puts all your torque in the right power bands and it really stops that up and down shifting, you know, wrapping up and down when it's trying to pull up and over a hill or something, you know. But what a game changer. And if you keep your foot out of the gas, you know, you actually save some gas mileage because you're not having to push as hard into the gas and work the truck as hard. And the shifts are just so much more smooth and linear, especially when you're towing. Next, the modification almost every tab owner does. They add a nice set of these boxes on the side to match the center box to store stuff because we don't have a lot of storage space. Now these are really expensive, but I'll tell you right now they are worth every penny. My only mistake was I should have just went and got over the extra $100 and got the slightly taller set or whatever it was, because that much more space could have made a big difference. But this way I load less weight up here on the tongue and I don't have to pack as much junk. These don't come with locks, so I had to get a 4-inch hasp lock in stainless steel and make this myself. And I pop riveted on up here, and on the inside I just put some of these combination locks on here, and that's all you need. Nothing too important in these boxes, but it works out just right when you do this. It slides past that, and yet you're able to open it. It's just mounted up in here like that. But yeah, I just keep my blocks, chocks, wheel, grease. This is an extra air chuck so I can reach the trailer from the compressor I have mounted in my truck engine bay. But super, super nice. If you don't want to come up with something on your own, just break down and spend the money. This will add value to the trailer. Plus, it just looks so good. But that new big box Nucamp just came out with. It's going to be even better. Just having one huge trailer tongue box all in one. This side, I got some of these RV bags for electrical. I got some extra electrical line in there. That's where I keep my shore power cord and some connections. And that way, I just grab each bag at a time and I layer it out of there. Under that, I have a bag full of all my water connections that I need. And that's all I got in there. So pretty simple and easy. I leave my sanitation stuff right in here too. Gloves and wipes. Of course, a tire cover. You need that out here in the sun. And now comes some of the custom work that I did here on the factory box. Alright, coming down in this box here. From the factory, you have this whole big box, and it's open. Me and a buddy came up with this dividing wall because I seen they had done this in the new tags. So we took some sheet aluminum, cut it to the right perfect shape, and just tack welded it in. I left a gap down here in the bottom because there's a little tray back here, and that's where I keep my trailer sway control device. But up here on the wall, I added a second Victron 7515 solar charge controller. So that is wired right to the battery. And then I got this SAE port plug, which I was gonna put it out here like they do from the factory, but I decided not to. And now I have a SAE plug to hook to a portable solar panel. If your solar panel doesn't have that plug, you can find all the adapters to this, to its cable connector, to whatever else, and make things work. But why I like this is, if you want to park in some shade, you're definitely not going to get any solar up here. You're going to keep the trailer cool. Then you can just put a fold-out panel somewhere way out there in the sun or something, you know. And in my case, I use both combined and pull double the amount of solar. The other custom thing we did, this had a big old gaping hole, you know, to vent battery vapors and gas and whatnot out of here. So we just made another aluminum plate, and I used double-sided tape, stuck it on. So I'm nice and kind of sealed up in here. As far as waterproofing goes, I found some of this rubber seal. Same with here under the lid. And it keeps this thing pretty dry. The key was you have to silicone between these two pieces right here so you don't get any leaks. This thing here is a Bluetooth controller, and this is running to all the rock lights I put under the trailer to kind of mimic what Nucamp's done with a new one with the underglow. Except for mine are way better. These are actual rock lights. These are Lux Lighting System rock lights. They're really simple. They're little flat things. They magnet on the bottom. You run the wires up. You buy one of these and you get a little key fob you can turn it on with, or you can use a Bluetooth app from your phone. I opted for the color changing lights, so I can change the lights in any color pattern. I can dim them down to almost nothing at all, or bring them back up super bright. Very cool tool to have when you're loading up at night, or maybe you need to see under your trailer at night. Snakes and scorpions and stuff. This is the relay for the tire TPMS sensors. So that just wires into the battery, and that just relays the signal up to the thing in the front. Now when it comes to the battery here, I made my own anti-theft device here, and some people ask, how the heck does this even work? Well, it's pretty simple. The inside of this battery box is bolted to this box. This thing is wrapped underneath the box, so it loops all the way around this box. So the only way you're going to get through here is if you break this lock or cut through this heater strap is what I used. And I made a hinge right here so I can open this thing up, and this thing just opens up like this. Then you can pop off your battery box cover if you have one. And although this isn't really needed, but out of paranoia I did it anyway. I bought this kind of flame resistant battery bag to put this lithium battery in. All of these iron phosphate aren't too bad if they happen to heat up, but still, being next to propane, you know, and all that. Plus, this works pretty good insulating this battery. Keeps it from getting too cold, because you're not supposed to charge lithium under, I think, 40 degrees. Plus, when it's hot out, this area actually stays pretty cool, believe it or not. It's kind of strange. You'd think a metal box in here would be getting hot, but it's not too bad. But let me show you the battery I picked up for this thing. This thing just unzips. I'll probably get rid of it here eventually. And you can see my wiring mess. But trust me, this makes sense. This is running all the gadgets and gizmos. And I'm testing out these new battery terminal blocks here. They allow you to bolt all kinds of stuff to each terminal without having to remove everything. These covers don't belong here. It's just something I tried to make fit for the meanwhile until I find something better. But pretty neat setup there. So this battery is a SunGold Power 100 amp hour lithium battery. And at the time, this was the only heated Bluetooth apt lithium battery out. That means I don't need a smart shunt. I can Bluetooth the exact lithium percentage to my phone on the app to see how much percentage is left in this battery. On top of, when this thing does get below 40, it'll kick on its own heating pad in there and warm this battery up till it's ready to charge again. It has high temperature cutoff and low temperature cutoff. And I'm going on about 9 months with this thing, and it's been absolutely perfect. Very neat battery. And if you can get to your battery, the other neat thing is it has its own screen. It'll tell you what the battery percentage is. And what each cell is. So that's pretty cool on its own. Now I did add a Victron SmartSense little guy here. It goes to each one of these terminals, and what that's doing is it's sending the exact temperature and voltage of this area and battery directly to the Victron controller over here and the identical one that comes inside of this tab. So everything's linked, and it knows exactly what it's charging between all 3 or 4 of these ways of charging that I have. The other form of charging I have, besides the 2 Victron solar charge controllers and solar panels, is this little connection here that goes to the battery. We'll get back to that charger here in a second. Now, to cut some weight off of this, the battery cut off about 25 pounds switching over to lithium. And I decided to opt for a way smaller propane tank. I think this is an 11 pounder. Because I really don't use that much propane. It takes me like 4 or 5 trips running the heater and the hot water in this thing and a little bit of the stove to even get through that. Plus, this tank's pretty cool. It has its own float and gauge on the side. Besides running the sonar one on the bottom of this that has an app to the phone. That dumped about another 10-15 pounds off the tongue of this trailer. So that was pretty cool. And the way I'm getting this to fit is, since it is so short and squatty, I put the tank on 2 of these chocks underneath. So now I have extra chocks and blocks just in case. Plus it puts that tank at the perfect height so it clamps down with the stock ring. I made this little mesh cover here where the gas comes in. That way maybe the mice and dirt and leaves don't get in here. Okay, I know I was trying to make this short, but there's a lot of stuff to pack into this video and a lot of things that a lot of people want to know about. So, last thing, how I charge this thing. First way is if you're on shore power, plug in the trailer to shore power. If I'm not on shore power, that 100 amp hour lithium battery with the solar panel up here on the roof lasts me about 2.5-3 days if there's no sun. And that's mostly because the fridge running. That fridge uses a lot of power like most portable fridges. I mean, it is really efficient, but 2.5 days, if you had 0 charging in sun off a 100 amp hour lithium battery running that fridge lights and everything in it, that's pretty darn good alone, right? Now, if I have good sun and I'm in the right direction, facing south to catch most of the midday sun, that thing's unlimited with a 100 amp hour battery. There's nothing else I really want to do to this trailer. Later on I may up that to 200 amp hours of lithium, but it's not needed. I wanted to do this like everything I own. I like it to be kind of like a Swiss Army knife. For a 3-day weekend without sun, that lithium battery alone is going to be fine. If I know I'm going to be on shore power, I'm good indefinitely. But if I'm going to be gone a little longer than 3 days, because I've had most of this equipment anyway, it just so happens that it comes in handy that I can expand my battery's capacity here. So at first, I bought this little Blue Eddy EB70, I think it is. And this is 700 watt hours of lithium power. This inverter will put out 700 watts. Of course, it has DC, USB, USB-C, and your charging port for your solar, plus a wireless pad. Now, I can plug this into the trailer via shore power. Now, you can't use your microwave because that'll max out your inverter in here. But if you just need to top your trailer off a little bit, maybe 25%, you could probably use this. But whenever you're converting AC back to DC, you're using a lot of extra power. You're probably losing about half in the conversion. Same with this one. So you're only going to get about 350 watts of power, or maybe 30 amps or something into that battery, which could be enough if you need to get out of a bind. But what I like to use these for is just plugging in any of my AC stuff, you know, maybe a hair dryer or a blender, charging things, my RC car batteries, and then I don't have to use power in that trailer. Plus this one here is fairly light. I think it's 22 pounds or 25 pounds. It's pretty compact. I think I've had this for 2 or 3 years now. I mean, you can even tell it's half faded from sitting in the front seat with me. But this is what I bring typically on a 3-day weekend for backup or charging RC batteries. I have a portable fridge inside this truck too, and that's what it runs on when it's not being plugged into the truck. Now, last year this was on sale. This is the big brother to this one. There is one more bigger than this, and there is some other ones, but portability wise, this is the Goldilocks for one of the bigger batteries you can get. Same thing, it's got wireless charging, except this will put out 1800 watts of power through the AC. I can run the microwave in that trailer with this. Now, it's going to use a lot of power. Probably 10 minutes of microwave time will probably drain this by about half, but you can do it. The nice thing about this is it uses its own cable, and its charger is built in, and I can plug this into any AC wall and it will charge dead to full. This is 100 amp hours or 1152 watts of battery. This will charge dead to full in like 45 minutes to an hour, and you're ready to roll. Or you can plug in your solar. This usually goes out in the longer trips, maybe 4 days, or maybe I do want to use the microwave that trip. This will come with me. So remember back when I was talking about this converter slow charging because it charges at an AGM or lead acid rate? How I'm speeding that process up is I can use shore power with the solar. That's going to give me more amps, plus the 14 volts to charge the lithium via the solar. I have 2 solar charge controllers, one built into the tab and one for my fold-out panel. So that's 3 sources of charging. 4th source, I can plug in shore power directly to this. Although the shore power in the trailer is going to drain a little more power out of this than maybe the next method I'm about to show you. So to do this a little bit more efficiently, not much, but mainly way faster, I bought this Victron charge controller here. It's a 12 volt 15 amp, and now I just seen they came out with I think a 25 amp version of this. That's pretty fast charging for lithium, especially for a portable charger. And this thing will do all kinds of batteries. It's all Bluetooth app too, so you can change your settings. You can match the same ones on your solar charge controller. And what I do with this is I plug that into here. This goes to that pigtail I showed you on the battery. And there we go. I can now use this as my second 100 amp hour battery. Although I'm going to be losing about 40-50% of it with the conversion going on here. But still, Swiss Army knife theory. I'll only take what I need for that trip. Why carry all the extra junk and weight, like today, bringing all this to show you, when you don't have to? On my 5th way of charging, you can look back in one of my vacation videos is I do have a Honda 2200 I generator, and that I have because that'll run the AC in this tab on top of charging it up. And what I did with it was I used the generator to charge this in about an hour when it was dead. So all I used was an hour worth of gas and generator noise to charge this fully up, and then I used this to charge the trailer silently whenever I needed some extra power, and it worked out really good. But I mean, that's only needed if you're not going to have any sun where you're going, or you're going to be gone for a long time, or maybe you want to use the microwave and the AC or something, you know. So all good units, all different ways of doing things here. They are expensive, but the nice thing is, look at the multiple purposes of this. This you can use at home. You can take this in your car. Same with this. This can run your fridge at your house if the power was out. So that's pretty awesome. One more note here. This is how I travel. Although I'm solo, you can put this in your back seat if you have a passenger. I just strap this thing down with a seatbelt because you definitely don't want a 45-pound chunk of battery flying at your head or through your windshield if you had to hit the brakes or something. So yeah, all kinds of ways to keep this thing topped off, charged, and maintained. I figured since I already had some of this stuff for camping anyway, I might as well use it, right? Why spend even more money when I don't have to? I think the new version of these tabs, when you're getting the Black Canyon, you're getting extra solar on the roof now. And I'm not sure on the converter end or Victron Multi Plus for the AC output in them. But when you upgrade to that, I mean, there you might need a lot of battery. You could actually probably run your AC off the system in that trailer, which is crazy. Now, granted, if you have 200 to 400 amp hours of lithium in that trailer, which is a lot of power, you're only going to run that AC for an hour or two max if you want to save a little bit of battery for the trailer. So it's not really doable. It'd be good to probably cool down the trailer just a little bit before you got in it, but you're definitely not going to be running that thing on battery. If you have the money and the opportunity to buy the Black Canyon with the extra solar and lithium, I would recommend doing that. That Victron Multi Plus charging system in there is supposed to be absolutely amazing. You might as well just get it all integrated. Now, if you can opt out of the batteries that they want to give you, I would do that. They're much cheaper, and batteries, just like that SunGold Power, that are just as good as the ones they are offering, at about $400 cheaper for a 100 amp hour battery. So if I were going to do it again and I could afford to buy Black Canyon with a lithium package, I would see if I had to get the lithium batteries that they offer, although that company is very, very good, and American, although all this other stuff's coming from China anyway, so I don't know if it really matters, the parts and components and whatnot, at $400 more for a 100 amp hour lithium battery. That's a pretty significant chunk of change that you could have bought some storage boxes for the front of your trailer or add-ons, you know. But that would be only if you just didn't have to buy those batteries, but could get that whole Victron Multi Plus and extra solar and everything in that trailer. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up my 1-year review of this little Tab 320S Boondock. I think I touched on everything and almost everything under the sun. I try to make this short, but there's just too much to go over. There's a lot of questions that people are asking now. If there's anything I missed, I'm pretty sure the next trip or tomorrow when I actually make the camping video portion of this trip, I'll probably go over things in that too. If anybody's considering buying one of these trailers, do your research. What I say is go to all the RV lots you can. Walk in and out of every model, not just the Tabs, every other trailer out there in your tow range. Just look at the quality. Open everything up. Open all the cabinets, look under the bed, and look at the build quality and construction. Now, everything is going to have a problem and an issue at some point or another. All vehicles do, trailers do especially, because this is a house going down the road in an earthquake. Things are going to shake, rattle, come loose, break, who knows what, right? But some are built a little better than the rest. And you'll be able to see that on your own. There'll be some give and takes. The main majority of this is built a lot better than the rest. You're going to pay a little more for that, of course. And you may have some issues with some componentry in that, but that's not the manufacturer's fault of the trailer. That is the people making the components for the trailer. You can always upgrade those if you have to. The one thing I will say about becoming a Nucamp owner is, especially on the tab end, the community that comes with it is absolutely insane. It's a cult following almost. It is the Toyota Tacoma of travel trailers, I swear. There are more people out there ready to help you and tell you how to fix things and modify things and show you everything they did and love about their trailer than probably any other vehicle or trailer community I'm part of online. And you can find them at Tab Trailers on Facebook, Nucamp on Facebook. There's even the new Tab 360 page for the Tab 360. There's a couple people on there that are absolute gurus when it comes to help and questions. One guy being named Paul. And Paul, if you ever see this, whoever you are, thank you very much for being so thorough. You might as well be a schematic and manual yourself, man. I mean, this guy is awesome. He knows everything to a T over all the years of dealing with different tab models. Just make sure you tell him your year, make, and model, and many of these people will be able to solve your problems or answer your questions. It's absolutely incredible. Besides, if it helps you fix something, why not? What's better than sticking it to the man and not going to the RV or car dealer or something, right? Saving hundreds and thousands of dollars. All right, well, if anybody else has any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If I know something, I will attempt to explain that or try to help you out on anything Tab 320S related or Tacoma related for that matter too. And or any of the products that I have showed you. I don't get paid by any of these people, and if I ever show anything on here, even if for some reason somebody gave me something and wanted me to do a review one day, I'm going to give an honest review because I don't believe in selling out to a crap company or getting people to buy junk just because you get a freebie out of it or something. So anything that I may review on here is my own experiences, thoughts. I've tested it, I've used it, and I really like it. Now, some of you out there, you may not like it, but this is my honest opinion on what I think about all this stuff here. Well, I hope that was helpful for some of you out there. I know some of you like the review videos. If you want me to show something else or go over something else, let me know. Give me some ideas. I'll be glad to show you that. It's almost dinner time. Time for me to crack a beer and enjoy the evening sunset. And sometime here in the next couple days, I will be uploading a second video of the actual camping portion of this trip. So stay tuned, everybody. What's the weapon of choice today? Tomorrow. Cosmic Dancer. Full Blaze. Space Buds. Let's go with tomorrow. And if I hold it outside the window, it kind of feels like I'm inside of a space capsule looking down at the Earth. We'll see everybody later.